Greetings everyone. I thought a quick video would be useful instead of just throwing everything out there to you and saying, hey, here's a whole bunch of files. So if you would bear with me, we're going to go through a few things: the setup, final project, teachers' activities that are there, the offline activities, refer to our paper pencils, and I do have a couple of additional, comments and concerns, especially when it relates to cost. So let's get started with a quick overview of the setup. This is our Biology 2020 summer plan for the teacher who's doing online work. As you see, we've gone through weeks 1 through 5, and corresponding with those same concepts that we're working on 1 through 5, we are going to, we are also going to have the same ones 1 through 5 for our offline or paper pencil. I'm going to call this offline. So again, the topics line up, the information lines up for the most part, as best we could under the circumstances that we currently have. Now, when I say for the most part, we have to keep in mind that may result in differences within our pre-assessment and our post-assessment. I took the pre-test and post-test, I created the pre-test and post-test from the North Carolina end of course assessment for biology that I know you can barely see it over here, but just to give you an idea, this is the released exam that they released. We have taken 20 questions that align with our material, and again, there's going to be some variations because being able to read and comprehend without a teacher is going to be a little different. We have our 20 questions. There are 20 questions. They are all multiple choice. This is our blank one. I wanted to show you what the answer key looks like. So the answer key is actually just has the responses highlighted instead of a separate answer key sheet. One of the reasons that it is in the Word format is I noticed that as I reread our notes, we're not sure specifically if they have access, even though our students have access to Google Classroom and Google Documents, will the teachers have that? And if the teachers will have access to making things quizzes and having them being able to be graded, that is great. We'll do some copy and paste, or they can do some copy and paste and put it into the Google format for themselves. So that is our online and offline setup. Now, final project was the second thing. There are 6 weeks of instruction, and there are 5 weeks planned. And part of the reason I thought would be a good opportunity for students to be able to do a final project. So at the end of each semester in my class, for example, I have the kids pick a topic that they enjoyed learning about or wanted to know more about, and they created a final project on that. It could be a PowerPoint, but I'd rather I had them actually do like mini trifo boards or mini posters of some type, and they had to give more information, different information than I gave in class. So it couldn't be a whole new thing. Let me rephrase that. I wanted more new information than just copying and pasting what I had put out there. So if it's possible to do a final project for week 6 as part of review week, that would be great. And if they are online, they can also share that information with the class. The third thing is I wanted to delve into a little bit more of the teacher activities. And sorry, I can't remember if I said this part, so I might be repeating myself. I do apologize. But we have our time frame, we have our lessons, and it says students should be reviewing 5 vocabulary words per day. The teachers will put that in either at the beginning or the end or throughout, whatever they deem necessary. Those are on Learned Ed. And also students are to complete the corresponding sheets on LearnEd notebooks during the instruction. So that is not listed there per se. They would have to do it as the instruction's going on. And I know we don't know if there's going to be we want some asynchronous and some asynchronous, but when it comes to lab activities, we really would need the teacher to either do those online with the students so they can see it, or also put in an option they could videotape it, would be one. This is what's happening in class. So LEN stands for LearnEd Notebooks. And these numbers, like 27 through 36, correspond with the PowerPoint numbers that they have. So I hate to say skipping, but somewhat moving on to the meatier part, I guess you would say, since we're not in class. But the good thing is the 20 questions, for example, of each book can be used for review. So it can still be used. This section over here, student assignments. These are things that the students would do outside of class. If it was a synchronous session, then this is stuff that they could do, on their own. If the teacher would like to have them do it in class, if there's time, then that could be done as well. One of the things, in addition to the labs, there's other activities that I put in for the teachers to be able to do with the students. So this is one of the activities I would do with the students in a synchronized class. I feel like saying synchronized swimming. But this is one for under a microscope. And when they talk about cells and being able to see it, and it's like, okay, what is this? Is it a broken pencil, a split end, a tip of a toothpick? What do you think that this is underneath the microscope? So I'm going to say the tip of a toothpick. And it's like, oh no, it's actually a split end. So that's actually a hair. And this is a good activity for the teacher to start using scientific thinking with them. Now, as I said, there's correspondence as best as possibly can with the offline information. And with the offline information, how it's set up is similar to a booklet form. So I looked online for a lot of things, and I tried to reference them up here if there's any issues. Look for things that are on their reading level, for one. That is something, even in high school, we still have students that are below in reading. I guess there's no other way to put it. But it's set up like a booklet form. So this is Biochem. This is their first book. What I try to embed every few pages, and I'm so sorry if this is making you nauseous, is an activity. So after they get through 3 pages, there's an activity for them to do. And then it moves on, and there is, whoops, it's coming up. It has to come up. There we go. Another activity. This is a foldable, but they can just write. But I try not to let too many pages go before there's an activity again, that they could do. And have a little fun with and gain some extra reference too. Now, again, this being in booklet form, what can happen is that students, I don't know how your distribution is going to go, but if you wanted to give the students one notebook, pick it up next week and drop off the new one, you can do that. But there's some ideas for that. I started patterning it after the LearnEd notebook. But that way the teacher can check the notebook and they'll get the notebook back to make any corrections or whatnot. Throughout the activities, there are a few embedded labs that the kids could do. I believe there's, so this is a toothpick lab. I think there's another one that's a gummy bag lab and one that's a tea bag lab. A couple of things that the kids could do. The issues with embedding the labs is, one, I don't know if that's an idea you want. And secondly, how we were told as teachers is we're responsible if we instruct the kids to do a lab at home, we are responsible for anything that happens in the process of them doing the lab. And so I don't know if that is something that Gaston College wants to look into. If you do have the students do the labs, that there's a disclaimer that it must be done under strict adult supervision and people sign off on it, however you deem that you want it done. But that needs to be something that is definitely discussed an issue of concern, an area of concern. So I believe I've got 1 through 4 covered. Now, 5 is one of the concerns I have as far as cost goes in 2 things. First, will the students be able to get the materials to do these activities? And they'll also need things like colored pencils and scissors or markers or something of that nature. If they don't have those things at home, will it be possible to get that to them? The second thing is cost in time that I would like to mention now and give an understanding of why I have to bring it up. When I first signed on to this project, I agreed to do chemistry, physical science, and biology. And I still plan on doing those things. And when I signed on, I said this is going to take 18 hours. That was pre-COVID-19. And of course, things have changed since then. And having these offline lessons, in addition to these online lessons, requires additional time. So I'm requesting an additional 12 to 15 hours to complete the other assignments for physical science and chemistry, reviewing information and editing and formatting and finding corresponding activities that students can do on their own or with very little help and still understand their concept takes additional time. Parallel lessons are very difficult. I've learned that as a teacher, having to do them myself when we first started, and I'm also coming up with the reality, especially in biology and will be chemistry, that there are additional struggles for that as well. I will conclude by saying that granting the additional hours will be beneficial. In 2021, if we decide not to go back to Learned Ed notebooks for that summer, we have the information in a book format already that was easily read by students and has the activities and answer keys. So it's very similar effect. The only things that will need to be done is 1, a little refresher based on feedback of the information, and 2 is adding the PowerPoints that we lost via Learned Ed. Please let me know if you have any questions. I hope this video helped.